What up, everyone? Monday morning, pretty beautiful Monday morning. Pretty sunny outside, hoodie weather in Ottawa, so the vibes are decent, although the markets are still getting crushed. So we actually had our worst performing 3 days ever since 1987 crash, I believe. 15% in 3 days in the S&P 500. Supposedly, after the Dow, the Boomer Index is the safest investment vehicle that you can have. Like, I'm talking about in the stock market. That doesn't account for bonds and GICs and all that stuff. So to say that's major is an understatement. I mean, there's a lot of panic. The fear and greed index is at 4, which is lower than COVID, I think. The COVID lows was at 6. We just have a lot of flip-flopping in the market. Every single official is saying something different. So on Thursday, we got slammed after Liberation Day. That was just ridiculous. He announced a 10% flat tariff on everyone, and then proceeds to say that we're gonna be generous. Sure, he was being generous. He only placed tariffs 50% of whatever the country did, but it's not true. So apparently there's calculations, and it's with the trade deficit. So basically what's importing and exporting, he did some sort of math with that, and it doesn't even account to true reciprocal tariff. So that's just retarded. And then just the delivery of everything, the way he's handling it, the president, is just, it's just a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. I mean, the number one thing the market hates is uncertainty, and I mean, he's making sure that everything's uncertain. It feels like we have Secretary Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, basically just lashing out and saying that nobody's getting exempt, there's not going to be any negotiations. He's just literally saying everything bad out there. And then we've got the Treasury Secretary, Besant, which I like much more. He's more of a down-to-earth, realistic market guy. I mean, obviously the Secretary of Treasury has to be aware of market implications. So he's saying that they're probably going to have negotiations. Then we had Navarro come out today. He's saying a bunch of random shit. Then we have Levite, or whatever, the girl. She's basically lashing out like Lutnick. We have positives and negatives, but everyone's just contradicting the other. Someone's saying there's going to be negotiations. Some of them are saying no. We've got Japan, Taiwan, Vietnam, the EU, Cambodia, I believe another 1 or 2 nations that officially came out and said that they're open for free trade or reducing the tariffs to, I believe, 5 or 10%, which is largely better than what it currently is. Some of them have tariffs of Cambodia, I think it was like 90% or some shit. So that'd be very positive news. Apparently, Trump said that there are negotiations today. So to be honest, I don't trust anybody's word except his. Even the bad, the good. Whatever he tweets out or says, I believe. His other secretary officials, I don't believe anything they say, just because everybody's contradicting each other, you know? So the number one bad thing right now is China. So China retaliated with 34%, I believe, 2-3 days ago, or no, Friday. That's how the market gapped on crazy. And then Trump tweeted out today that if they don't remove that reciprocal tariff over the reciprocal tariff from the US, then Trump would retaliate in 2 days. So if they don't remove it by tomorrow, he'll retaliate in 2 days with a 50% additional tariff, which would put it at 104% on Chinese goods, which is ridiculous. And By the way, if these tariffs stay in place for, I want to say, more than a month or two, we're guaranteed going into a global recession. Like, it's everybody imports from the US, exports are getting taxed, everybody's just gonna get fucked. Like, I'm talking about a global, not depression, but a global recession is pretty much guaranteed if these tariffs stay in place for an extended period of time. So the sooner they're removed, the better. So from a market standpoint, the big traders with the US are Vietnam, Taiwan, China, Japan, Canada, Mexico, and the EU, right? So Canada and Mexico were exempt from that reciprocal tariff, although they've been tariffed before, but it doesn't look like there's any major retaliation on that point. So those two are cleared, Mexico and Canada. We have, like I said, everybody except China from those major importers and exporters saying that they're open for free trade, which is amazing. And that's very good to hear that they're not looking, obviously they will retaliate, they said, if discussions fall through, but their number one thing is to make this thing work, and that's what I believe President Trump wants. So we'll see what happens. China, I hope we get good news tomorrow. If this just keeps going back and forth, it's just going to be ugly for everybody. So I hope they can discuss something and come to terms. This is just a whole shit show. It was the reason why I'm kind of mad, not that I could buy these cheap prices, it's just it was so avoidable. Like, this was so not necessary. It's self-inducted pain, and sure, he might have a plan, and I understand he wants to refinance the debt at lower rates, force Fed Powell's hand, but like, this is not the way to do it. If you wanted to, the goal was free trade and to balance the trade, could have done it in a more respectable manner instead of just crashing the markets, literally wiping out $30 trillion in assets from retirement funds. People wanted to retire this year. You know, it's just not a good look. It's not professional. I mean, I knew Trump was like that, but to this extent, Trump 2.0 is much different than Trump 1.0. I'll tell you that. So it's just ugly to see, and I'm sure he has a plan in store. I don't think he's gonna just keep letting the market crash, especially that what he's doing is he's trying to get bond yields to come down. So the 10-year, the 30-year, he wants those to come down, because when investors go into safer assets like bonds, they usually, so the 10-year usually comes down, right? TLT goes up, that sort, because people are anticipating a recession, bonds will have better demand and they'll be lowered because of economic slowdown. Oil's going down, all the commodities and everything. So that's not even working. Basically, the market's down like 800 points in the last 3 days, talking about the S&P, and the 10-year has barely budged. It's down like 30 basis points, which is not what Trump wants to see. So they're just destroying everything and not really getting what they even wanted. The 10-year at around 4, sure, they brought it, I believe, from like 4.5 to 3.8. Now it's back to 4. Sure, that's decent, but the way he did it is not the way that, it's not a sustainable way. That's not gonna force the Fed's hand to cut rates or pumps stimulus into the market. So one way to do it is, Trump is probably crashing the market right now. Well, he is crashing the market, but I believe, and I want to believe, I might be coping, but he's not. Trump is a smart man, and he knows the market. Like we saw today, apparently there was a fake headline saying that there's a 90-day extension period for the tariffs to allow discussions and negotiations, right? And the market rallied 10% from the lows on the Qs. So the Nasdaq, I believe S&P rose like 6, so it was down like 4%, went up 2%. I think that's like a 7% change, right? I don't know exactly what it was, but something like that. So we know that how fast we crash, we could probably V-shape back up if we get the right headlines, if the tariffs are dropped, if we get good news, especially out of China. One deal will probably start getting the market rising back up because it'll anticipate more deals coming through. So we have Netanyahu at the White House today. Hopefully some good news there with tariffs. We'll see what happens, but it just shows that any positive headline that Trump releases, and that turned out to be fake, right? So the White House came out and said that's a fake headline. It was from CNBC or whatever. The market went basically almost back down to the lows. So just goes to show that any headline, this market is just headline driven right now. Technicals are kind of out of the window. And yeah, I want to go back to the way Trump is probably orchestrating pumping the markets back up with his tax cuts. So he's trying to, obviously, the way he's doing it is not right, but he's crashing the markets. He wants to refinance the debt, save the US trillions of dollars in interest, and lower rates for consumers, businesses. Will bring better economic activity. And from there, he's going to pump his tax cuts. Just as much as he's been tweeting out about the tariffs, all negative news, he's probably going to tweet out soon good news and pump his tax cuts. So everyone making $150,000 will be taxed zero, according to him, and no capital gains tax, which is huge. That's huge for the market, for stocks, crypto, everything, and obviously real estate. That would be major. And just as fast as we came down, that's a lot of money pumping into the markets, and we could V-shape back up and even to new highs later this year. I still don't believe this is a real bear market. I think it's just a liquidation, and obviously it's been heavy and terrible, but these quicker liquidations tend to go back up much better. You could see in COVID in 2020, and then compare that to the 2022 bear market where we just slowly grinded down for like 9 months, and it took like a year and a half to go back to highs. Those ones are much harder bear markets, which I think we could have next year, but that's another topic for another day. I still believe there's a lot of pumping in the market. He could pump it with Doge, the cuts that they've been doing. He said that he might send stimulus out to back to the taxpayers, the residents in the US, to refund them. So that's another way to pump the markets. Tax cuts, that, and just the Russia-Ukraine war, if that ends. I think he has some stuff up his sleeve. He's not going to keep letting the markets crash, especially that usually in the second half of 2025 is when the midterms, which are obviously at the end of 2026, but that's when there's a lot of influence, and people see their 401ks, their savings accounts, their retirement accounts getting crushed. Obviously, Republicans are going to lose a lot of seats unless he comes in with a rescue plan pretty quickly. Quickly, I mean in the next few weeks. So we'll see what happens. I think he's open to negotiations. There's no way he's just going to let every country get fucked and then just they're going to retaliate, and it's just going to be a whole shit show. So whatever money apparently that he gets from the tariffs, he will use to offset with the tax cuts. So I believe there's between $600 billion and $1 trillion coming in from tariffs. That'll offset the taxes, and I mean that's a decent plan if it works out. But just the way everybody is just flip-flopping with headlines, and nobody looks like they actually know what they're doing except for Trump, like with what they're saying, is yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Lutnick with what he's been saying. We'll see what happens, and I think today could be a capitulation low on the markets. We just retested the 2021 market all-time highs today, so we erased basically 2 years of gains in 47 days, I think. So that's just ridiculous, and yeah, we'll see what happens. We're at a major trend line from the COVID lows. We bounced off of it in COVID. Obviously, that's low. We bounced off in the 2022 bear market, the 2023 lows, and then now we're back at that trend line. So if that doesn't hold, we're going to depression. And so I think it'll hold. I mean, this is just all news driven, and yeah, I believe, I don't know, I'm a pretty optimistic person, and not like, I'm not trying to be delusional or anything or coping, but I genuinely believe that this will reverse back up pretty quickly in the matter of a couple of months, and we'll be okay. So this is a good buying opportunity in my opinion. And yeah, I just hope Trump knows what he's doing. And yeah, I mean, last night was ugly. I saw Japan had a circuit breaker. I saw a lot of country, like the Taiwan index was down 10%. I think Europe was down like 7%. Yeah. So everybody's suffering. Nobody's gaining anything from this. I hope it can all come to an end. Not a huge fan of how it's taking place, but it is what it is. At least the BNB, the agency that my friends and I are running, is doing decent. So it's back up to a good place now. So I will build up a cash position and will be dumping into the markets starting today. And yeah, be buying stuff like Tesla, crypto stocks. Um, I won't be touching any semis for now just because they broke down from a stage. We're right now on a stage 3 drop, and sorry, a stage 4 drop. And yeah, I just won't touch semis for a little while now. And yeah, we'll see what leaders emerge from this downtrend. Stuff if like Palantir, Hood, Hims, Tesla, the ones that led us up at the Trump pump, if they'll lead us up again. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this market breakdown and just my thoughts of what's happening right now. I know it's a whole shit show and nobody's gaining anything from this. It's just ugly to see. Everybody's getting crushed. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, it helps out a lot. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.